Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm the Disc Golf Nerd, and today we're going to get a long overdue review added to the playlist, and that is for the Discraft Comet. Absolute living legend, classic disc, one that was very well established, even at the time that I started playing disc golf many years ago. We have an old ESP Comet here, and we also have a somewhat more modern Crystal Sparkle Ledgestone one. It's tough to film. The stamp and stuff is all shiny. I don't know why Discraft insists on using these weird kind of foil stamps that make it so difficult to see the actual stamp artwork itself. I don't know what that's about, but they really like to do that. What's wrong with this? You know, a nice black stamp. You can see it, you can read it. I don't see a problem with that. Anyway, I digress. This one is a newer Ledgestone Sparkle Comet. So Sparkle Z Comet. And I'll give you a quick peek at the design of this thing. You can see right away it's got that old school design. So in this video, we're going to talk about the flight. We're going to talk about the design. We're going to compare it to multiple other discs that you guys might be familiar with, including a Rock, a Buzz, Meteor, Latitude 64 Fuse, side by side to get a difference in the design and the shape of these discs. And then we're also going to put plenty of flight footage throughout the video as well from me and Andy. So once again, two different versions. This one was considerably more stable. It's basically brand new. It's got a little bit of a dome to it. Different plastic. Crystal plastic tends to be more stable as well. And then we got this beautiful old worked-in ESP Comet. Got these in a trade from my friend Emily. Shout out to her for that. I appreciate it very much to be able to bring in some plastic without having to spend money. I think I sent her a couple of my old Thrashers that she was able to use. I really like how clear and sparkly and nice looking this thing is. You know, clear isn't the best color to find out there on the course, but this thing's so shiny and sparkly that it's quite easy to locate. Taking a look at the design, you can see it's got that really old school vibe in terms of the design. It's got that big scooped out underside there. The flight numbers are not listed on this disc because back in the day, Discraft had this flight number, this single flight number that really didn't tell you a whole lot. The current flight numbers are considered 4, 5, -2, and 1. It's tough to dial in based on the plastic types and all the different variations that they've come out with over the years, but I have no complaints with those flight numbers at all. So there's one more look at it by itself. Let's bring in the crystal one. You can see it's still got obviously the same kind of shape. This one looks like it has a bit more of a pronounced bead. Could just be because it's fresher. There's a little bit of flashing on the inside as well. You can see the way it comes over that edge. Let's start throwing it up next to other options right away while we can. This is a KC Pro Rock, and for a long time it was Comets and Rocks. Like, those were the discs. If you wanted a rock that flew like a comet, you'd have to break one in, and they would start much more stable. Rock flight numbers on this old KC Pro 4403. Pretty funny. I don't think it would still be considered that. It'd probably be like 4402 maybe. I don't know. But I feel like the stability and the kind of perception of stability has changed a lot over the years. So putting up next to the KC Pro Rock. These two went head-to-head for a long time until the Buzz kind of took over for the Comet as the flagship mid-range for Discraft, and, you know, arguably on the market. You know, it's one of the most popular discs of all time. KC Pro Rock was one of the earliest mid-ranges I had after the Comet. An old Z Comet, I think, was the second mid-range I ever had. And then here's a Buzz right there. I lost that Comet a long time ago and ended up carrying some other ones. I had some X ones in the bag. You guys might have seen if you've been around for a long time, seen my super old in the bag videos. There it is next to the Buzz. Obviously, you know, considerably different shape, but these two in particular, not hugely dissimilar in terms of what you use them for, especially with this Comet being as stable as it is. It kind of gets into the territory of a lot of other discs. Then we have the Meteor, which is a disc that kind of eventually, I believe, took over the slot permanently from any Comets that I was throwing. You can see much different design, and I like this kind of more slightly, I mean, the Meteor's old now too, but slightly more modern shape in terms of the design there, as you can hopefully see. Comfortable feel in the hand. Meteor's great. Flippier, faster, goes a little bit farther, I would say, than a Comet, but a Comet pushes on that nice floaty, slow line that it's hard to say. And then we got the Fuse 5.6 -1.0, and these are also quite similar. Fuse is also a disc that's been around forever and has a considerably different shape and design there, as you can see, but still very similar in terms of what you use it for out on the course. Out of these two, I'd be much more likely to bag and use this old ESP. For my arm, this one has that understability that I'm looking for in a Comet. I also like the feel better. I'm trying not to show you any old ink on the bottom of this thing, but you can see it's kind of warped, or it's noticeably warped. I don't know if that happened in the shipping process or what went down with that, but it doesn't really bother me very much. And I like that it's a little bit of a flatter feel. It's a little bit lower profile in feel. This one just feels that bit deeper with the more dome on it. And yeah, just something about it just feels that a little bit deeper in the hands. Not a deal breaker, but again, this one's stable enough that I don't really need it as far as a Comet. If I was just drawing Comets and I was trying to layer them, I would definitely look into one of these for kind of more stable mid-range shots. But especially at my arm speed, I'm getting older now, I'm not throwing with as much speed as I used to. This old worked-in ESP Comet is much closer to what I'm looking for in terms of the flight and the feel of a Comet. Okay, we looked at it next to some other discs. We talked about the feel and the plastic, the flight numbers, etc. And there's nothing left to do but take a look at the rest of the flight footage and talk about the flight of this disc. Classic disc, still every bit as viable as a flyer right now than it ever has been. You know, Andy was out there throwing it. He hasn't bagged Comets in many years. And after the testing process and watching him throw it out there, I'm like, why don't you bag a Comet anymore? Because the damn thing flies great. And this a little bit more stable sparkle run really connected well with his arm speed and his throwing style. He was able to get a really nice straight flight out of it. If you get it a bit nose up or you throw it with a bit too much hyzer, it will kind of fade out on you a bit, which was strange for a Comet, but I think a little bit more to do with this plastic type, and this very firm crystal plastic tends to be a bit more stable in my experience over the years. This old orange ESP is very similar in terms of flight compared to my old beat up soft magnets. It's something I can throw on that hyzer, let it stand up and work. If I put enough power onto it, it will slowly move to the right all the way, which is always a nice shot to throw. And it also pops up really, really straight without much effort. Standstill shots and just kind of low speed, kind of floaty mid-range shots. They both work out super well, and it's still a totally viable disc that I think anybody could get good flights out of it, from a beginner all the way up to top-level pro players like Andrew Fish that's still throwing this disc, Michael Johansson. You know, you have to have some level of touch to throw these if you have that upper echelon power level, but they can still handle the pop. You just got to put them on that hyzer and know how to throw them a bit without over torquing them or getting them over out of the hand or anything like that. If you have integrity with your throw and your angle controls, this thing is just as viable for the top level players, top level arms out there, as it is for somebody who's never thrown a disc in their life. I think that's one of the things about the Comet that's so beautiful and so effective for so many players, is that it's really versatile. It could be your first mid-range ever. You keep throwing it for the rest of your time playing disc golf easily with no problem whatsoever. Just kind of learn to adjust it based on your arm speed. Put some more hyzer onto it. Learn how to control it on those nice smooth shots. You don't have to put a lot of power to get it to fly, which is great. But if you want to kind of beef up on it and hit it with some power and put some stank on it, I guess you could say, it can handle it for sure, and it'll fly great. Being such an old school disc that's been around for so long, you know, it might have this connotation that it's too flippy, you know, or whatever the thought processes might be. If you've never thrown a Comet, don't sleep on them. Still just as viable as they ever have been. An absolute living legend in the disc golf world, and one that was long overdue to go into my disc review playlist here on the channel. That is it for this video. Thank you very much to everyone for their continued support. Shout out to the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. As always, all you got to do is go click the link tree in the description to find links to my signature discs, any official Disc Golf Nerd merch, any active coupon codes to save money on gear. All of that's found in the description below. I'm not going to be talking about that stuff mid-video anymore. I'm over it. So if you guys want to find that stuff, help support the channel, save money, get yourself gear, any of that type of stuff, just be used to looking in the description, link tree, click that, and that'll be your portal to anything that you might need. So thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you to all of my fans, viewers, friends out there, sponsors. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you very soon. Cheers. Deletable content. Laser.